Welcome to Zack Attack Reviews. Thank you for joining me for my Throwback Thursday review for Black History Month. I'm going to review a movie that I've never seen before, a cult classic, maybe just a regular classic because it made a lot of money back in the day, and that's Friday, the first one from 1995. Yes, I have never seen this movie. It is a travesty, and I finally got to check it out because everyone on my channel voted, and this is the one that won by far. So I'm excited to talk about the good and the bad and how I feel about the movie overall. Let's start with the good. First off, I gotta say that it was incredible to see so many great performers that I admire in one movie. So young, kind of early in their careers. Ice Cube, Chris Tucker, Nia Long, Tommy Lister, John Witherspoon, the late great Bernie Mac, and so much more. So many little great talents. A young Megan Good, who I almost barely recognized as a little kid at the ice cream shop scene. I just, it was so much talent in this film coming in and making this classic comedy film that a lot of people love and a lot of people in the Black community appreciates. So it was really great seeing them. You know, a lot of the things that they do in this movie is a lot of what they carry over in their successful movies as they get older. So it's really nice to see them build those characters from here and where it came from with the inspirations for a lot of the things that they do in other movies. And they don't disappoint in terms of the character work. I think that's like the best part of the movie, just hanging with these characters. And that's kind of what this movie is based on about. It's a Friday in Compton with just these characters that live in this particular street, just hanging out for this Friday. And it's just, well, usually it's just normal Friday, but everything that could go wrong or everything that could go crazy goes crazy in this one day. And I feel like they played all these charismatic like characters that you want to like, hate, you just might recognize. Like a lot of these characters I feel like I grew up with in my own life, and just obviously these are exaggerated versions, like Ice Cube's Craig, the guy who's the hood observer, the person that doesn't really get into the gang stuff, the drug stuff, but he's cool with everybody and he kind of sits back and does his thing and never try to really get involved in it. I could definitely relate to that. And Chris Tucker, the weed head that never takes anything serious, gets in trouble all the time and escapes by the skin of his teeth and luck. I know a ton of people, and I grew up with a lot of people like that in the neighborhood that I grew up in. Felicia the beggar, everyone knew that one person, man or woman or child, that just was begging all the time. Every time you see them, they just want something. And it just got, and I love how it got more ridiculous, more ridiculous, more ridiculous every time. It went from she wanted his toaster to his microwave to the car. It was just crazy, and I liked how that paid off into a little bit into the story because she begged at the wrong time and kind of almost messed up his relationship. I thought that was funny to have that represented there. Just different things you see when you grow up in that type of neighborhood, and it's kind of universal because this is in Compton. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I still have these type of people that I've interacted with as a child. And Debo, played by Tommy Lister. He's done this character multiple times, but you could see that this was like where he created it for the first time, basically, and his most famous portrayal of the character. And everyone knows that neighborhood bully, the one that no one thinks they can beat because they're so big and so scary looking that no one tests. And he's always just taking everybody's stuff, doing what he wants because no one feels like they can take him down. And I think that I could definitely relate to that because when I was growing up and going to junior high school, there was this one bully that they used to call Psycho across the street in the high school, and he used to bully all the little kids and do weird stuff, and no one could stop him. And I was one of those victims, so I understood and could completely relate to that. And because the movie takes place in one day, you experience these characters over and over as they interact with each other on this one block, and this dramatized version of it, this more comedic version of the events that would happen, that you could tell that the people that wrote this movie and the people that acted in this movie have experienced these things. They feel real. They feel like real people, just heightened us a little bit to make us laugh. And it's just really great to experience that because you don't see that in the movie. Usually they're seen as like more of a negative connotation, but this is kind of playing with those stereotypes. And having not seen this movie until now, it came out in 1995. I was 5 years old when that came out. I was definitely not to watch this movie, and I just never went back and checked it out. So I'm glad that you guys voted for me to finally see it. And there were so many classic lines and moments in this movie that I didn't realize permeated pop culture so much to the point where I was saying these things and not knowing that it came from this movie that I never saw. Things like "Bye, Felicia," you just got knocked the F out. The film, which is one of my favorite ones that I've said multiple times with friends and not realizing it came from this. I've seen the meme, but I've said that even before the meme was around. Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions, and you ain't gotta lie, Craig. It's just some of the things that are just multiple lines here that I recognize that's been used past this movie, like in other hood classics, other just comedy bits, even past like white movies, Asian movies, and things like that. They just use things that come from this, and it's really cool to see the source of all those great lines and things that I use that I never knew that was coming from this classic film. Now let's talk about the bad. So while I can say that I appreciate this film from a cultural standpoint, and I think that it's a big deal that a lot of these actors got their start here or got their big break here, and develop the characters that we know and love that they do in multiple movies. I have to say that I was bored in a lot of the movie, surprisingly. I was watching the movie and it was been so hyped up. And I think that's where expectations come in. The way that you hear how great the movie Friday is, how much of a classic it is. I'm expecting it to be one of the funniest comedies I've ever seen, have a really great, comedies don't have a fantastic story, but I felt like there was really no story here. I was like watching a slice of life TV show, but it was just an hour and 38 movie. And for that first hour or so, I was kind of bored because the comedy, other than those classic lines, didn't really hit for me. It was between where I feel like some of it didn't really age well, or some of it was just not my type of comedy. And it just was disappointing for me because I was really expected to be smiling and laughing my ass off throughout the movie because of the way you hear about this movie. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff is just comedy that maybe worked in 95. It was crude, it was crass, a lot of it was a little bit childish, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that type of comedy. It's just that stuff that just didn't work for me, or it was executed in a way that it just hit me. And it might be because I just watched this movie too late. I don't think it ages well enough for 2023 for those things to hit as much, because so many people have taken from this film and used it in other films that I've seen, and I laughed at that. So going back and watching this is not as funny. And I think the way the plot was and the script and the way things were played out with Craig and Smokey, played by Ice Cube, and Chris Tucker, of course. First of all, their chemistry together, and I should have said this earlier, was great. They felt like best of friends, and they just really were worked really well together on a comedic timing. A lot of those classic lines is them two doing it, and Chris Tucker got so many of them. I don't know how he got that out of the script where he gets to say so many of the coolest lines in the movie. But it's just kind of those characters going from the stoop to a house to another house, back to the stoop, inside another house, back to the stoop, and the format and the way it kind of got repetitive and kind of a little bit boring for me for that first hour and 10 minutes, and then once it goes over into the part where his father is telling him, you don't use a gun, use your fists, be smarter. That's where the story, like, it kind of started picking up a little bit, where we kind of had like a plot to something that was going on. Before, it felt like we was just watching the day in the life of people, but because the jokes wasn't hitting for me, it wasn't as exciting or as engaging as I wanted to be. And then the second half was a little bit better, but just not much better for me, unfortunately. And I wrote down a couple of things that I feel like was here, and it was like played up for comedic effect that just didn't age well. Is like Smokey on Angel Dust. I thought that scene was going to be hilarious. It was okay. I didn't really get a big chuckle out of that. Craig having no milk. I think that conversation between him and his dad just went on for too long, and I got it, and it just didn't. I just didn't laugh. At first, I laughed like, why is he drinking this big old bowl of cereal? But then after that, it kind of ran its course. His annoying girlfriend calling the phone, hanging up, and just coming around. That stereotype has been used so much, and I think better in other movies, but it's not the movie's fault because they kind of did it first. And everything to do with Mr. and Mrs. Parker, I just thought that wasn't funny at all. And it's not that like, oh, you can't make fun of little people. I've seen comedies where they make fun of little people and it's still funny. I just didn't think that it was that funny in this film, especially where you have Bernie Mac, who's a comedic genius, and he wasn't used that much in that scene. He played like a stereotypical pastor who does hood stuff, and I thought that was gonna be played up and he was gonna be brought back, but he was just in one or two scenes, and that it was okay. And that's just some of the scenes that I felt like was a little outdated, a little thing that it didn't age well, and some of the stuff that maybe aged up well. It just didn't work out for me. It wasn't my type of humor. So let's get into my verdicts. So overall, I still like the film overall, and I think I respect it for what it did for the culture, for the comedic culture, for the Black culture, and just pop culture in general. And the fact that it has so many actors and actresses that I admire in the film, and seeing them, doing great characters was really, really fun. And also seeing the director Gerry direct this as well, and seeing one of the first movies he got to do early on in his career was really exciting. But overall, the plot of the film and the story and what they were telling just didn't keep me engaged. And unfortunately, the jokes, because I'm watching it in 2023, didn't land for me as much outside of those iconic moments that I knew of before I've seen the movie. So overall, because I respect it and I still had a decent enough time watching it, I'm going to give Friday a C. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Friday? Let me know in the comments below if you feel how I feel watching it in 2023, or you've seen it in 95 and you think I am absolutely crazy for thinking that this movie is not the best thing ever. Drop all those comments down below. Let me know. Suggest some movies for me to see for my Throwback Thursdays. I'm going to be doing Black movies of all kinds because it's Black History Month. So drop those movie suggestions down below. I'm going to make a poll every Thursday. It ends on Sunday, and whichever wins, I'll do the review the following Thursday. Like the video if you like my review. Subscribe to the channel to see more. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified to my review, reactions, my ranking list, and my live discussions. And you can see more of my content right now.